We designed this hall so that players had to use a box as a shield, but many playtesters read it as an avoid the energy ball timing puzzle and simply left the box behind. We solved this in large part by having the AI talk about the box. A lot. Once the dialogue went in, playtesters went from routinely abandoning the box to never wanting it to leave their side. Since we weren't going to make the players lug a box around for the rest of the game, we had a scene at the end of the level where the players are forced to kill the box.
Okay, interesting. So it sounds like this level went through quite a few iterations as well. So first they went from just using the box as a shield, then abandoning it right after this. So then they added a few more areas to this particular puzzle so that they still need it for various things like the buttons and stuff. And then at that point they wanted to even take the companion cube with them, so then they put the incinerator at the end of this. Okay, interesting. It's always interesting to hear all the past iterations in history of each level. Oh, hello. I almost completely missed you.
I know that I was told that, sort of the idea of Valve is that everything is planned. Everything is worked out in advance. But that's a big fat lie. Because the initial idea is started, and they bring an actor into the studio and they say, say these words for us. Say this computer-generated voice for us. Okay, I'll do that. Well, then that gives the creators other ideas. And it's a rolling process. You roll from one idea into the next idea.
Interesting. That's the voice of GLaDOS right there, talking there. Okay, she's saying that not everything was planned like you'd first think with Valve. Like, basically they said, okay, say this, start saying a few things here, and then things just gradually went on from there. Interesting. And yeah, that's just kind of how GLaDOS came about, I suppose. Just not from something being planned out from the start, just by trying stuff, and then things have just gradually developed from there. Interesting.
The awful end of the companion cube serves a dual purpose. It adds a lot more sinister character to our already pretty sinister AI, while simultaneously training the player to use the incinerator, a key component of the final level. The training has a nice dramatic payoff, since players later get to avenge the death of their good friend the companion cube by stuffing some of the AI's important parts into exactly the same type of incinerator.
Okay, yeah, I can kind of imagine that, yeah. So the incinerator here serves two purposes. Obviously, one, to show that GLaDOS is more villainous. I mean, yeah, she's already kind of villainous, but we get a bit more of depth to that. Not only that, but it kind of teaches you of a new mechanic that will be used in the final boss of the game, and also allows you to get a little bit of revenge by using the incinerator on GLaDOS as well. So, yeah, I like that. That's a good way of teaching an end game mechanic, I think. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the main testing track now, so 18 out of 19. So this is the first to last test chamber, pretty much.
Creating the AI voice was a multi-step process. First, we ran every line of dialogue through an automatic text-to-speech program. In the studio, we cued the actress who plays Gladys, Ellen McLean, with the computer-generated sound file. She'd mimic it, and then over the course of several takes, adjust her performance to clean up any words that were unintelligible in the computer version. For instance, here's a line as Ellen delivered it.
Perfect. Please move quickly to the chamber lock, as the effects of prolonged exposure to the button are not part of this test.
Once the recording was done, we processed all the dialogue to give it an extra computery edge. Here's that same line as it appears in the game, with the pitch constrained, pitch modulation suppressed, and the formant moved up.
Perfect. Please move quickly to the chamber lock, as the effects of prolonged exposure to the button are not part of this test.
Okay, interesting. I'm a bit thrown off by that, the fact that it's still spinning, and the fact that my the text box is gone. That's thrown me off a little bit there. Because again, I thought the node is supposed to stop spinning once it's done, but I mean, again, I'm looking away and I don't know. I think maybe this one might be broken or something. But back on topic. So yeah, that's interesting. So they have the actress for GLaDOS saying the line in an already very AI type of voice, like very like, you know, kind of monotone-ish, like very AI sounding, and then they just basically put the same line through a bunch of stuff in post-production, pretty much, to make it sound even more GLaDOS-like. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, again, it's always good to hear about this type of stuff, isn't it, really? Okay, the next node is in here. Did you have to put it in the same area as the radio? Wait, actually, I can just... Now I can think in peace. Alright, what have we got?
As an actor, you know, you come in, you do what you're told, you want to make your money, and sometimes you get good direction, and sometimes you don't get good direction. But it doesn't matter, and you certainly don't tell the production team any of this. But you come in, and they'll give you a lame line reading, and you're supposed to find some emotional value in that. But this is not what this team did. They would come in, for example, explosively indignant. That's a wonderful direction for an actor. So, I must say that the production team won me over, because so often I get bogus direction, but this time I was actually directed and had fun at all the sessions.
Huh, that's nice. I mean, again, I don't really know what it's like as an actor. I mean, I know a lot of cases with acting, it's, you know, again, sometimes there's good direction, sometimes there's no direction. You know, every single time when something doesn't go quite wrong, it's never really the actor's fault, or at least, you know, a good percentage of the time. Sure, maybe sometimes it is the actor's fault. They're not like doing research on the role they're meant to be playing or whatever, if it's already pre-established or whatever, but a lot of the time, if the acting falls flat or doesn't really feel like it, I mean, again, some of the time it is the actor's fault, maybe, but a lot of the time it also comes down to the writing, because again, a different example, think of everything in Doctor Who, like, and the somewhat not as good stories in Doctor Who, where, you know, Peter Capaldi, Matt Smith, they've done brilliantly with, you know, they've done the best they can with, you know, not so good writing. You know, they got not very good writing, but they roll with it, and they made this crappy writing actually somewhat decent, and that's just an impressive thing about actors as a whole. I know I went on a bit of a tangent there, but it's relating to acting, so I think it makes sense. But yeah, the thing is with acting, I guess, I mean, again, I'm not an actor myself, but basically the stuff that you're given is either good or not so good. But again, if you're a talented actor, you can make even the crappiest of scripts work in your favor. But again, if you've also got the production team, you know, giving you, you know, helping you out and making it fun, then that's just a happy little bonus, isn't it, really? Okay, last chamber of the main testing chamber track. Let's see what we got.
We use these moving platforms to add time pressure to puzzles. A sequence of simple decisions feels much more climactic under time pressure, in contrast to most puzzles in Portal, which can be solved at the player's leisure. Puzzles that aren't time-bound can be more complex, but at the expense of being less dramatic.
Okay, I see. Right, yeah. So basically, they added these platforms here to basically make it feel like that you've got less time. Whereas in most puzzles, you can basically solve, like, you know, whatever time you like. Well, this adds a bit more pressure to things. So yeah, I can see that, and I definitely felt that way in one of the earlier puzzles, I think. that had a section just like this, with the double button press, that puzzle. I definitely felt a little bit of the pressured time there, but yeah, that's a good way of adding. That's a good way of making feels a little, making things feel good for the like the finale of the game.
Sometimes little details make a huge difference. For instance, we had to add the left side to this wall to give players a visual representation of how thick it is. Without it, playtesters frequently thought that the hall had just gotten impossibly narrow, panicked, and stopped making rational decisions.
Right, so we're done with all the test chamber stuff now. I couldn't really give my commentary on the last one just because it was talking during that whole thing. But if I remember, I'll probably have a text event in there, perhaps, if I remember, if I have anything to say, but oh well. But here's the next one, after GLaDOS tried to burn us alive.
Before the player escapes the fire pit, the AI dialogue is all delivered in a computerized monotone. After the escape, however, GLaDOS gets progressively more expressive until, by the end, she's cycling through a whole mess of emotions. The role required an actor capable of mimicking the computer-generated voice while still infusing it with some real character. Since we planned to end the game with a song, she also needed to have a good singing voice. The woman we ended up casting, Ellen McLean, is a great mimic, a terrific actor, and a classically trained operatic soprano, so that worked out pretty good.
Okay, yeah, so basically you definitely heard it there, like, she starts, as you're sliding into the fire pit, she's going all, monotone and all that kind of stuff. Then when you escape, she's, getting a little more expressive and so again, they really need to find someone that could tick all of those boxes to be, monotone, then go to, to a wide variety of emotions while still sounding somewhat robotic. Obviously, post-production helping with that as well, and plus someone who's got a good singing voice as well. So yeah, again, I definitely think they picked a really, really good choice with Ellen. I can't remember her last name. Sorry, Ellen, but yeah. Either way, great job. You did a great job with both Portal 1 and 2.
In these new areas, we weren't using the surfaces the player is familiar with. The rules for which new surfaces portals can be placed on, and which surfaces are off-limits, needed to be taught. So, we created this area both to show the player they've escaped into the guts of the facility, and to retrain them in which surfaces are valid for portal placement.
Okay, interesting. So basically, they wanted like the behind the scenes of Aperture to feel very, very different from the main testing facility. So they needed to have different portal service to match that. So you get a feeling that that you're not really meant to be here. While again, I like that. Like training us what services are good to use for portal services, whilst also making it feel like a completely different environment from the main testing track.
I went to Portal's, I googled Portal in game, and I went to the trailer, and I just loved it. I loved hearing my voice. And as I told the production team, I have never played a computer game in my life, but I want to play this one.
That's brilliant to hear. That the fact that after the game came out, the voice actor for GLaDOS actually looked up the game and heard herself and really enjoyed hearing herself in the trailer. And she never played a game before, but she really wanted to play this one. And that's again, that just shows you how well she portrayed her role, and the fact that she wanted to play the game even though she'd never played a game before in her life. That's absolutely brilliant. So again, great job from her. Great job from like the entire Valve team. Like again, excellent job from everyone. Really. I just want to say that right now.
After players escape, we let them solve an old chamber in a new way. This reintroduction of a familiar space which can now be solved in an incorrect way, helps convey the sense that players are cheating the system while forging their own path through the facility.
That's a good way of going about it, actually. Also, I've noticed no radios this time, which is nice. Because, again, that was getting very, very annoying. But, yeah, basically, it kind of gives you a sense of freedom. That you can, now that you're no longer a test subject, well, still technically a test subject, I guess, but you're basically free from the main testing track, and now you can just tear through the facility however you like, whether it's right or incorrect. Because again, usually what you do is you grab a box, and then go up there, shoot through the portal through there, and then grab the cube through here. But now with the portal gun still, we can just do that, and yeah, that's not the correct way to solve the but with the portal gun, yeah, it just gives you it gives you a sense of freedom now that you're not bound by the testing track rules because you're an escapee now. And I like that sense of freedom it gives you.
One bizarre fact of game design is that without some serious prompting, players will rarely look up. In this case, the prompt is a ladder. Most players will investigate where the ladder goes, which is up. The ladder actually falls apart as soon as it's touched, but by then it's served its purpose.
Okay, interesting. Right, gotcha. So, basically the ladder comes apart, like on purpose, but that's by design. The ladder's not actually meant to be climbed, but meant to act like a little prompt on where to go. Instead of putting an arrow, they just use the ladder. Gotcha, that's actually kind of clever, like using things as for completely different purposes than what you'd think they'd be meant for. I like that.
We designed the post-escape levels to give players brief glimpses of the inner workings of the Enrichment Center. This particular area exposes part of the storage cube distribution system. These little vignettes help make this section of the game visually distinct from the testing chambers, while reinforcing the idea that players are now behind the scenes.
Okay, I see. Yeah, it's you do really want to do that, like give them a little look behind the scenes. Give them the feeling that you're not really meant to be here, and just again, it's just adding depth and lore to the world, isn't it? World building.
Through playtesting, we discovered that fatigue set in if we didn't break up the more complicated, deliberately paced puzzles with problems that required the player to perform a much simpler task under time pressure. These pistons proved to be a good foundation for that simpler type of puzzle. Because they feature a moving surface, they also gave us an opportunity to employ some unusual portal transitions, such as ceiling to ceiling.
Okay, right, my time's going off, but okay, so basically these stuff like this was basically to combat fatigue. Interesting. I can kind of understand that. Like, after all the complex puzzles, it might be a little bit, it might be a bit of fatigue setting in. Maybe I can kind of understand that, but all right, everything, things that might not seem like they have a reason, they actually do. So, yeah.
During development, we'd often run across some piece of level design that would break the portal system. For instance, this ceiling-to-ceiling transition was an unexpected edge case that ended up requiring a lot of effort to make work. We tried never to take the easy route of simply changing the level design to work with existing portal technology. We knew that once the game was out in the wild, custom map creators would stress the system in ways we hadn't even considered, so we made it as flexible as possible.
Okay, so right, they had a feeling that that map makers and modders would get on that. Like they had the foresight to think, oh wait, once the game's out in the wild, people might want to make custom maps and mods and stuff. Okay, it's nice to know that they had that in mind. Okay, that's interesting. Like, because again, most some developers would think like, yeah, there's no way people are gonna hack this or mod this or whatever, but no, Valve actually thought about and thinking, you know what, people might want to mod this, and that's nice to know. Like developers that seem okay with modding, and from the sound of it, it even sounds like they encourage it, which is, again, nice.